Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's CITI program webinar. Today's topic is drones in academia, and it is presented by Adam Grant. So our learning objectives for today are as follows. First, Adam is going to help you understand the basics of drone technology and nomenclature. Once you have gained that foundational knowledge, Adam is going to cover the FAA airspace regulations and operator requirements, as well as how the export control regulations apply to drones. And finally, Adam will discuss some other operator and institutional considerations such as safety, liability, and privacy concerns.
So this ball on the left is called a gimbal, and it's not a sensor itself, but it's often used to house different sensors which can be selectively controlled by the flight crew. The gimbal also rotates and pans in a coordinated fashion, often with image stabilization, allowing the operator to smoothly and seamlessly track an image, such as this picturesque landscape scene here. Optical used here is just a term for the visible spectrum of light that you can see with your naked eye. So the term electro optical used here is just a fancy way of saying digital camera. In fact, many electro optical sensors use the same types of sensor that's in your commercial digital camera. But when the light gets too low for the optical sensor to work, the operators have to switch over to the infrared digital sensor. Perhaps you've heard the term FLIR, or forward-looking infrared, which is a special infrared sensor that can quickly process light in the infrared wavelength, allowing the operator to see things that aren't visible with the naked eye. Alright, you may be wondering why I dedicated a slide to this simple definition. What's interesting about this is it's the actual definition that appears in the Federal Aviation Regulations. It doesn't distinguish between a 747 or a paper airplane. Technically, anything that flies comes into FAA jurisdiction when in the national airspace. This is an important concept for this next section. So what airspace does the FAA control? Well, technically it's anything that's outside and above the ground. Even in your backyard flying below the tree line, you are technically in FAA airspace, so you better think twice about letting your 6-year-old fly that paper airplane across the lawn. Drones can provide access to spaces where people have a reasonable expectation of privacy. This brings up both the moral obligation for respecting people's privacy, but also the fact that the laws around privacy are generally designed to protect people's Fourth Amendment right to privacy. And for the second bullet, I thought it would be a good idea to raise the possible issues that could happen with human subjects data. Now, researchers that regularly work with human subjects are usually very sensitive to these types of concerns and making sure they have the right consent to record people. But with drone research, you might be dealing with engineers that have never done any research that involved human subjects or required any particular protocols.
On that note, I invite everyone to review our content offerings regularly, as we are continually adding new courses and webinars that may be of interest to you all.